All right, we are taking a look at Kaiju Road Rage, and I'm joined by Cronch. Um, can you start by talking about your background in game development and you were the art and some programming visual effects on this project?
Yeah, that's right. Um, let's see. Well, I've been making games for like 3 years now, kind of like, but not like consistently, more on and off. And well, the only games I finished were jam games. I've tried to do a lot of big projects because I'm just ambitious like that. But yeah,
Awesome.
I like to see myself as a game designer mostly.
Nice. Yeah, I think that game jams are really great for that. Like, I love participating in game jams every once in a while. I haven't participated in Ludum Dare for a while, unfortunately, but GMTK, I try to make a point of doing that every year.
Mm.
Fall Stress, hello, welcome to the stream. Or Fail Stress? Not exactly sure how to say your username. But yeah, so let's get into Kaiju Road Rage. I see it's mostly just up, down, left, right, and then we've got arrow keys to select attack and fire attack. F to full screen. Okay, let's give it a try. F. There we go. All right, here we go. Okay, so it's actually lane-based. And then... Oh, gosh, okay. You died pretty quickly. Let me retry that. So I'm not sure... Okay, so in forward, I shoot laser beams. Backward, I swipe tail. Oh gosh, okay. Let me read the controls again because I'm a little confused. Okay, back attack is specifically a shell parry. Up attack is an anti-air atomic breath. Front attack is block breaking laser blast, and then down is a cruiser stomp. Okay, so it sounds like I should be doing the down attack to actually hit these guys. So I guess I just get over top of them and then press down. There we go. That's what we want to see. Oh god, why do I die? Is it because your rage level goes to 0?
Yeah, that's why.
Okay. Oh my god. Whoa, whoa, what is killing me? This,
It's
okay.
from the right of the screen.
Yeah, I saw those, so I guess I just have to, okay, so you have to move to watch out for those, and then stomp on the cop cars as they show up. Okay. Stomp, and stomp, oh gosh, okay. Oh, there's a, oh my god, it's very difficult. Okay, well, can you talk a little bit about your inspiration while I flail desperately at these controls here?
Well, for inspiration, we were looking at the theme, and well, I actually brainstormed this with SciDev, which was the programmer. She should be in chat right now, but anyways, we had like a mural board set up, and we just went through everything that came to our heads when we were going through it. There she is.
Nice. Hello, SciDev. Welcome.
And then we started thinking about spaces that are limited, things like a room, or in this case, a vehicle. And if you're familiar with Iron Lung, that game that went viral a while ago,
Can't say I am.
it was this horror game which was big on claustrophobia and being inside a tiny cramped submarine. Anyways,
Okay.
that's like where it started with this vehicle. And then from there, our first actual idea for a game was what we like to call the Kaiju Transport Authority, which was where we would drive around different kinds of monsters, and then like none of them could fit in the car. So then based on the kind of monster, you would have to drive differently because they're all sticking out of the car and you don't want to hurt them based on things like traffic signs and other cars.
Oh, yeah. I can imagine like bashing their head on overhead street lamps and whatnot.
Yeah, exactly. And then from there, opening the mirror board back up so I can check.
Oh my goodness, there's a lot to keep track of in this game.
Oh yeah, it's pretty chaotic. That's what I think is the fun part of it, personally.
I think once you sort of start getting familiar with the controls, like I do love the image of just the feet sticking out of the bottom of this monster truck, literally monster truck. But I do appreciate that like everything is different. Like you have to get yourself lined up with the like counter the tank shells as they're firing at you, and get over top of the cop cars to stomp them, and then you've also got to keep an eye on the right side of the screen to make sure you don't run into any of the barriers, and just yeah, overall it's a lot to keep track of, but once you get into the flow of it. I think if I'd realized that it was a high score based game, the score is really just like hidden away in the bottom corner, and you don't actually see your score like tallying up over time.
Yeah, until you die. That's when you can see it, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
When you start paying attention to it.
Oh, okay. So your score actually goes up incrementally. I thought it was a like survive as long as you can, but you actually earn points. Sorry, I literally didn't notice it at the bottom of the screen there. Like I think it's good that it's not taking up too much space, but for I'm always wondering if it would be nice to have like a sort of front and center. Every time you destroy something, you see like plus 100 points, plus 300 points, combo.
Mm, yeah. Yeah, that's,
Are there any combo systems, or is it mostly just based on what you destroy?
yeah, it's just based on what you destroy. From what I know, that is. I'm not super familiar
Okay.
with how it works inside because that's Psy that did all that.
Oh, no. Dino Carzilla. Welcome to the stream, Eddie Nardo. Thank you for the hydrate. Yeah, so can you talk a little bit about the development process? And I'll open the question up to both you and SciDev in chat.
Personally, my biggest problem is just with the time. I'm really just slow at doing anything, even with games, but this time I was just the artist. But still, it's mostly just a time constraint.
So in terms of like the actual programming, like what we're seeing here though, like how did that actually come together? Did you end up like gray boxing things out, or like what order did you end up developing things?
Well, Sai was pretty much doing things all by herself the entire time. And then I was like giving pointers on the design, on things to adjust and stuff like that. It was all just like pretty much like pink boxes like almost the entire time. Yeah, we just slapped on the art at the end.
A lot of pink boxes, got it.
And I implemented a lot of the art and I did like all the animations. So that's why there's also the some programming part there because I did fix some stuff so it was more in line with the art.
Nice. And this
That
was
was
made.
all like
Sorry.
it was all just like in the last few hours of the jam. It was pretty hectic.
Yeah, I did just notice it was made with Godot, and SciDev's mentioning I had to learn Godot from the ground up. Is that because you were transitioning over from Unity, like so many other people are this gem? Yep. Can't say I'm surprised. I mean, yeah, I'm glad you were able to use it as a learning opportunity. Because yeah, there are some people who use game jams as an opportunity to learn something that they haven't built before. Oh my god, you can die really quickly sometimes.
Yeah, it just falls apart. Even though if you're good, then it's like very easy to just stay at the top of your rage level a long time.
Yeah, I think it is mostly to do with the fact that sometimes it's hard to like the cop cars are the easiest way to like build up your rage. If you start with the like prolonged segment where there's just barriers coming your way, or even the tanks are a little hard to nail the timing for how to knock back their shells.
Mm-hmm. I think that part is a little unclear, actually. I think it may be as a cause of how DR only got added in like last moment, and we weren't able to align everything perfectly.
I think the like the barriers coming from the sides, it might help to have like because there's the little red glow, but maybe if they were like big flashing arrows being like, look out, incoming, just something that helps to draw people's attention over there a little bit more, because you can kind of get blindsided by them if your attention is, well, it's going in a lot of places for sure.
Mm-hmm. Well, I actually had made like a warning sprite to get flashed on, but we just didn't have time to add it.
And they, to be fair, I'm honestly just now noticing they do flash, but it is kind of like it's a. I don't know. I feel like you could use a brighter color to help draw attention to that, just because.
Yeah, it could be more visible.
Yeah, just slightly. Oh my god. So the helicopter is kind of a real problem, huh?
Mm-hmm. They have a long startup, but they do a lot of damage.
Yeah, so it's kind of an
Big
emergency.
priority.
Yeah. I think I got that one run where I hit 20,000 points, and since then I have not gotten anywhere close by. I see, the red glow is just a placeholder. And see, that's, I went on this whole rant about, like, don't get defensive when you're getting advice from somebody, but, like, if you want to explain, like, oh no, I totally get it, I would, that was just a placeholder asset, we had plans for something else, like, yeah, I don't want to deny people the opportunity to give those explanations and say, like, well, this is what we wanted to do instead. Just this is what we had time for. It's a fine balance to walk.
Mm-hmm.
And I also
still like 400,000.
The 400,000 points. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, they were playing for a while.
So what is the actual strategy when it comes to knocking back the tank shells?
Just when they almost hit the ground, and then I think the hitbox is like, it's like pretty big, but it's like from like the back of like the car to like the middle, somewhere around that.
So
from
in general,
to where it lands.
So in general, it is a good idea to line yourself up with. Oh my god. Yeah, don't miss though, because then you get hit by a tank shell and also barriers, and you die immediately. Had you thought about including a small invulnerability period?
After the jam, I did, because, well, we didn't have much time to play test either.
Yeah.
We got lucky that it wasn't. It was a pretty okay, I say. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff like that we could have added.
It does sound like things all just sort of like came together in the last few hours. So I don't think, like, it's hard to get into a run, and I wouldn't say that overall the game is necessarily too hard. It's just that the difficulty can sort of fluctuate. There are some moments where you get into a really nice groove and hazards are coming up, but you're dealing with them. It starts a bit too hard because I think an optimal way to start the game is dealing with cop cars, because that's an easy hazard to line yourself up with, stomp on them. I was a little confused at first, which you saw, right? Like, you saw my honest reaction of not understanding the attacks, and then I read the HIO page and I realized that they were situational and that you couldn't just use any attack for anything. I at first thought I needed to avoid the cop cars, although I realized with the art that you do have to sort of like line yourself up over top of them. Like you've got this sort of like big suspension rig on your car that lends itself to the idea that you can drive above them.
Mm.
But yeah, so I guess just in that sense, standard game jam stuff of tutorialization is difficult, difficulty tuning is difficult. You know, these are things I barely even want to mention just because they are so bog standard.
Hmm. Actually, I think one other problem is that the difficulty doesn't go up enough. Like, there's not much that happens later on that will actually make it interesting for people who are good at the game to play it. Because if you scroll down the comments page, the person that got 400,000 points, they actually
Yeah.
died because they were trying to play a YouTube video on their phone.
Okay. Oh my god. I can't. This is already a two-handed game. I can't imagine playing it with just one hand.
Yeah, well, if you start dodging stuff, then you can still live, except for the helicopters.
Okay.
Then you can just bring your hand over when that happens. So you can take a little break with your other hand for a while.
Yeah. No, I suppose so. I mean, I think like that might be what I would describe as the issue is that right now you've got something that starts too hard and then doesn't increase in difficulty. Like, does it increase at all, or is it just a
It
matter
does.
of?
It
Okay.
does, but not very significantly. Like later on, as you start getting more score, I noticed. Well, this is just what I've noticed because I don't actually know how it works. But I noticed,
Right.
like, for example, the tanks start shooting two shells at once, and
Okay.
the barriers start coming like more overlapping the
Yeah.
time, so they come way faster. You gotta dodge one after the other. Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
and
you need to ask SciDev for that.
um, I'm really dumb. So yeah, system for scheduling attacks. One playtest by someone who hasn't even seen the game yet could be super valuable. Yes, absolutely, and that's the difficult thing. Like Alex Rose mentioning, you had the opportunity to get 500 people to playtest. That's incredible. I don't think I've ever had a game that 500 people have playtested. Like, I'm not counting Worlds Within Worlds where it has gotten a lot of plays. I'm talking about play tests specifically because I've I don't know. I have like watched maybe 20 people play through the game, and then since people started speedrunning the game, I watched their speedruns, and I don't know if that really counts as plays, but yeah, that's wild. That would be invaluable feedback, especially if you have some way of collecting information from those players and being able to act upon it. So, right, what I was going to mention though, in terms of the Kaiju Road Rage, what you can do is if you're aiming for this sort of like short and sweet experience, again, understanding that this is not necessarily something you would have had time to do and implement in this jam, time constraints, and so forth. But my objective when I design a sort of score attack game like this is make sure that there is a very gentle slope at the beginning so that people can take their time to figure out the controls. And then have some kind of mechanism which scales the game up in difficulty based on how well the player is doing. So you can, like, if you're a returning player, you can get through that early stage quickly. So that it doesn't become a drag and you feel like, oh, every time I start this game, there's like a 2 minutes where nothing's happening. It's like, no, the entire game should last for like maybe 5 minutes. And then it can ramp up really significantly so that you are intentionally making the game not drag on for a super long amount of time. Because you frankly just don't want to take up that much of someone's time. Like, you would rather have the game be really difficult and have it like exponentially increasing in difficulty to the point where if you manage to keep on surviving, then it is like a godlike talent that you've managed to make it that far. Oh my god, a high score of 80,000 from the Morpheus. I think it needs unblockables and some kind of general progression. I mean, that's kind of what we're describing here is like the length of the game's play session is determined by how much unique content there is. Having four different things, four different attacks, and things you need to juggle, not to mention, it's technically 5 because you have 4 different attacks. I realized I never used the front attack, the block breaking laser. Whoops.
I always see
I
how long it
mostly,
takes people to notice that.
yeah, because well, because you allow the user to move out of the way, right? Like that is the alternate
Mhm.
way of dealing with those. But you can smash those blocks, I guess, to refill rage instead of just dodging them.
Well, if I'm gonna be honest, they actually don't refill rage
Oh, okay.
because, well, the block breaking thing was at an last second because we were planning on having something that the friend attack will actually like deal with, but then didn't have time to do that. So then I was basically like, "Can you make it so that the front attack destroys the barriers real quick?" And that was like actually like super last minute, maybe less than an hour left in jam cell.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
Mm-hmm.
Made it unnecessarily hard to scale difficulty, had increasing probability to happen after cooldown expired. Not implemented, it was an afterthought. Lumofius mentions the only thing I have some criticism for, maybe I already said it, is that you need to double tack to attack most of the time. Oh, I see. Like it would be nice if you just press the button and attack immediately in that direction, as opposed to having to press the button to switch attacks and then press the button again to attack in that direction. I think that is good feedback. I did not mention it, so great suggestion.
Actually, actually, I've been thinking about that because like for the up attack and the front attack, there's actually some setup that happens there. The total, it's like 1 second after you press the button. That's when the attack actually happens. See, and it just goes automatically. But then with the back and the down attacks, those are like you can spam those pretty fast.
Oh
So
yeah, you
then,
really can.
yeah,
Wow.
so that's the difference there because when you press the attack there, it should just like instantly happen because that one's an instant attack. But then like I don't know, I still kind of wanted an animation to play there, so it's not like instantly swiping. So it just doesn't like just pop out of existence, the tail. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a difficult balance because like if you say I got the feet out now and if I pressed back and the tail appeared, like there can still be a cooldown associated with switching to get the tail out, after which it does the attack immediately. But like right there, like it's going to be slightly delayed on your end. But I
Mm-hmm.
just had a situation where I retracted my feet and put the tail out and missed the opportunity to hit a tank shell because it didn't like do the attack. In general, just for for the responsiveness of the controls, I think there's nothing wrong with the idea that you forego or otherwise speed up the amount of time it takes for the character to like switch poses and just go straight into the attack. One thing you can do instead is you can have a follow through. So you press down, the character stomps immediately. When you press up, the character appears and starts charging their upward attack immediately, and the feet slowly retract into the bottom of the car. So you keep the animation of like switching around, but you have it on this delay so that like it you it's not interfering with what you're trying to do now. You're just sort of seeing the I don't know if I've explained it very well.
I mean, yeah, I see what you're saying. Like, it should be like instead of being one and then the other, it should just be like while you're doing it, while it's coming up, it should already start charging it. It should already start doing it.
Let
Yeah.
me let me try like a slightly better explanation here. Just between the tail and the feet, because those are the two where there is a like delay and it doesn't happen immediately, right? So you press back. You've got your feet out. You press back. The tail attack happens immediately as soon as you pressed back, and then as the attack is happening, the feet are drawn up into the bottom of the car, and now you're just doing your tail attack. You press down when you got the tail out. You press the feet stomp down immediately, and the tail slowly retracts into the back of the car. So you still have the animation of like only one attack is happening at a time, but it responds immediately to the player feedback, and you just have the little visual after effect of whatever attack you were doing before um, recedes into the car as the next attack is already happening. Does that make more sense?
Yeah. So to make the transition between the back and the bottom one, just like when you transition to the top one or the front one. Just when like it goes to them and it already starts doing the attack. So yeah, that would
Yeah,
make it a lot more responsive, and also it would have less things to explain because
and
then we wouldn't have to like explain that you need to move into place to do the attack.
yes, and so Lemophius, like I know that your suggestion was not to remove the cooldown. I am actually suggesting that. I'm not going to put words into your mouth, but I think that and again, it's not to say that cooldowns don't have a place in design. Like, there's a great video that Egoraptor did, Sequelitis, talking about Castlevania, and you've got this delay on your whip. Like, for some games, it does make sense that the attack has a delay. For an arcade kind of like fun game like this, I think having no delay on the attack, like you just push the button and you attack in that direction, will probably feel a little more exhilarating. But that's something that you can try out and see in playtesting how that feels, right?
You mean that for the back and the front attack, right?
For the
Not
for
the front attack, I
the
mean the
the
back
the
and the bottom
feet,
attack.
yes, because I do understand that the up laser has this like monumentous like charge to it, like innately, um, and it effectively does start happening right away. But I'm wondering if there's any way that you could um, like maybe it's just a matter of having like the character's mouth glowing. Let me relaunch the game so I can see exactly what the up attack looks like. So your head pops out, and then there's a brief moment where, and again, like there's not necessarily an easy way to do this without having another keyframe or asset or something. But the if the attack, the head pops out of the top of the car, and then there's just a second where, especially if I press the attack multiple times, I can press up, and then for a second it looks like the character's not doing anything. So I'm wondering if you press up and then you add just one more keyframe where the character is like a halfway, like tween frame between their neutral pose and their like up pose. Maybe their chin is halfway raised and their like eyes start
Mhm.
glowing or something. Because that way you give me the immediate feedback as the player that my input has been acknowledged, and I know that I'm charging towards this up attack.
Yeah, that's a pretty good idea actually.
Yeah, we've touched on the fact that the front attack right now doesn't necessarily do what you had originally hoped for. Um, yeah, it's easier to just switch lanes. So yeah, I think that that's about everything that I would have to mention in terms of feedback. But I did want to still ask, what was the most difficult problem you encountered during the jam, and what was your solution?
No, that one was well for like a meta problem. I would say I don't know if it counts. If I'm saying this right, meta problem. But anyways, I would just say time,
Yep.
just the time constraint. Like I said earlier, it was the time to do everything. And then the second thing I would say is getting the animations all right. That was like actually pretty complicated. Like that last run, trying to follow the animations in, and there was a lot of messy code. There's a lot of copy and pasting. So there's actually like a couple bugs. Like if you press forward or up too fast
Mm-hmm.
while there's already an animation happening, especially in the forward one. Sometimes it'll play the sound, but it won't actually do the attack.
Yeah, I'm messing with it a little bit, but I try to be. Um, well, I don't know. It doesn't look like it's. If you do it
It
too
happens
quickly,
sometimes.
okay. It seems to be doing it pretty consistently when I'm pressing it now. So
Well, I'm just saying what I noticed
sure.
was when I was playing.
SciDev, thank you so much for participating. Bye bye for now. Um,
Oh, and
but
also for the back and the down attacks.
yeah.
So I also realized that it wasn't really shown, but because of the way it was made, you can actually just like if you double tap the button really fast,
Mhm.
it just does it basically instantly. Which
Yeah, I do see that. You can if you mash it, then you're kind of doing what I had suggested in the first place, which is just make the attack happen instantly.
Yeah, but it's not elegant.
Well, yeah, I understand that that's not necessarily the way you would want to implement that. You'd want to make it more intentional, and which
Yeah.
is my suggestion. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Let's see. Um, with the art, I definitely didn't get it 100% up to my standards. Like the
Mhm.
tank, I didn't get to make the tanks, well, as good as I wanted them to look like, because right now they're pretty much just two trapezoids stacked on top of each other. I didn't get to put in as much effort there as I did with the car.
Mhm.
I pretty much spent like the whole first day figuring out how the style was gonna look like and what the main monster truck was gonna look like.
Yeah, but the player's attention is going to be mostly focused on the car anyway, so I think it makes sense to have spent the most effort on that. And the fact that the tanks might like, I didn't notice there being anything wrong with the tanks. I always, I think that that falls squarely into the category of it's something that you're going to notice about your own art that
Yeah,
no one else is necessarily going to call you for it. Like, um, yeah, that's definitely something I've seen people do is they say like, oh, you know, I look at my art and all I see are these problems, and it's like I don't see it.
I would definitely make it more detailed, I guess, because tanks are pretty detailed things. I think I simplified it too much.
That's not necessarily a problem though, because like everything in the game is relatively simplified. Like just especially, I think there's a nice level of detail on the background. Like there's the sort of the abstract colors in the extreme distance. The like you wouldn't add details to all those buildings in the window. Like the
Mm-hmm.
you wouldn't add windows to all those buildings in the background. God, I did not even get
Also
close to what I
because
was
it's
trying
part
to
of the
say.
background.
Yeah. And just because the tank is in the foreground, I think like it's off to the side of the screen, but it also reads really cleanly right now. So I personally don't think it needs to have any more detail. But all this to say, do you have any plans on making a post-gen version of the game?
Well, as always, pretty much every game I end up making, the scope is like 10 times higher than what actually ends up being on the jam.
Mm-hmm.
So I just think of myself as a like really ambitious person. So like what was it for this game? Like our first what we were thinking was like there were gonna be like three areas and this wasn't gonna be actually like an endless runner kind of thing.
Oh
But it
my
was actually
gosh.
gonna be like three areas that you transition between and there's like a checkpoint at the start of each one. And so it is still like a runner game, but then
Mm-hmm.
there's different things that happen and new mechanics that come through. And I actually wanted to add a way for the car to jump
Oh
with
my gosh.
the legs, so you could jump over barriers. And then the laser attack would actually be used in like a big enemy that could be in front, like a
I
boss of
see.
some kind. Too many cool ideas to do.
So do you have plans to actually implement some of those ideas, or
Well, I have plans, but only time can tell if I actually get to them.
I see. Yeah, I mean it's a game jam, right? Like it might just have to be that like you keep some of these ideas in mind for future, and you know, um, just accept that it is what it is for now. And I don't know.
Hmm.
It still feels very polished. It still feels like a lot of fun. Hey, 72,000. That's not bad.
Yeah, thank you.
Um, so don't. I guess what I'm trying to say is don't feel like you need to come back to fix this game. Like it's
Yeah,
great. Um,
I would do that
the
for fun, really.
Yeah, absolutely. If it's something you do for fun, then who am I to tell you how to spend your time? Um, if there were anything to correct, it's the stuff we've already discussed in terms of like don't worry about adding features. Think about like tweaking that difficulty curve, tuning it such that it's easier to start, a little easier to get into and understand the ropes. Tutorialization is going to be difficult. Like there's no getting around that. Proper tutorialization is almost always hard to do well. Um, but changing like gameplay balancing is not, I'm not going to say it's easy, but at least it doesn't involve writing new code or creating new art assets. It's tweaking the values you've already got.
Hmm. Yeah, I think our values just aren't tweaked very well. Not enough
And
time
again, like
invested.
that's going to be so heavily influenced by actual playtesting and being able to try it for yourself. So I distinguish between other people playtesting it and playtesting it yourself. There's a
Mhm.
significant limit to how far you can get with self playtesting.
Yeah.
So yeah, all right. Well, I think we're about ready to wrap things up there. So if anyone else has any questions they would like to ask or comments they'd like to mention, now would be the time to do it. Otherwise, I would like to ask if either you or if you know anything, I know SciDev had to leave, but if there's anything that you'd like to plug, either social media channels or other projects that you're working on.
Well, well, I just have all my past game jam projects really,
Okay.
and well, that one's on Sci's page because she was the programmer. But then my h.io page would be captcronch.h.io, and then
You
there's the rest of my
gotta
games there.
link your game in the credits page here, or drop a link
Yeah,
in chat
true.
if you, in the Twitch chat.
Let's see. Yeah, over there I just have like the rest of my jam games really.
Yeah, but that's still something, right? Like, and if there's anything else, any other social media channels you want people to check out?
There's just my Twitter, where but there's not very much on there.
Okay.
Let's see. Well, there's just there's just one big project that I'm working on with like a bigger team, but it's
Okay.
like sort of a very casual hobbyist thing.
Sure.
So I don't think it's anything worth mentioning for now.
Hey, no, come on. Don't say that. I'm going to say right now, if you are looking for feedback or playtesting on that particular, like, other project, then I'm always happy to take a look.
Yeah, cool. I'll keep that in mind, but for now there's not much playable in
Okay,
it, so
that's fair. That's fine. And I want to make sure that that offer is everyone who's watching is aware that I'm always happy to take a look at games, and it doesn't have to be playable. I'm also happy to just discuss concepts and design chat, like especially if you are like running up against a problem and having this feeling of like, man, I just can't get past this thing that there's this design paradox in my brain. I'd be
mhm.
happy to talk you through it. So but yeah, thank you so much, Cronch, for joining me on the stream, and looking forward to either future gen projects or taking a look at that long-term project if you feel up for it.
All right, thank you for your time.
All right, bye for now.
Bye.